What's up, everybody? It's Adventure Link here. Back again today with another repair job for you guys. That's what you're tuned into. That's most likely why you tuned into me. Today we're going to do this cooling fan on a 3.6 liter Pentastar V6 Dodge Journey. This is a 2013 crew package. This should work amongst all Dodge Journeys as a whole from when they started in '09 to, I guess either when they end or when they change the design, whatever comes first. So let's get started. First thing you'll do is come in here, remove this resonator tube. Just like that, toss that to the side or something. Make sure you don't break it. And the next thing you're going to want to do is undo this hose clamp right here with the Phillips head screw, or you can use the equivalent size socket. I think that's socket size is actually like 8 millimeters. Want to loosen this. Then we're going to switch our screwdriver out. Right, we switch our screwdriver from flathead to Phillips because there's 4 little screws. 1, 2, 3, and 4 that hold the airbox tabs in place. So you just squeeze your screwdriver in here and start undoing as fast as you can. Don't worry about making the little bolt thingies evacuate the little airbox. They'll stay in place no matter what. That's most likely a good thing. Otherwise, if you got traditional clamps, well, just unclamp it instead. That's fine too. That one's always the most painful one. I don't know why. I just pull up on the box, and after you get them all out, and you'll have the top half separated from the bottom half, which is what you want. Gonna switch heads once again to a flat blade screwdriver, like a pocket size flat blade screwdriver, jeweler size, whatever. Just need something to come in here. Preferably a real legitimate panel remover would actually do nice. The goal is to try to pop this little 2-part connector up without breaking it. Right. It's out. There. Got one half separated. Don't worry if it separates like this, that's fine. Just put that in the airbox right there for now. Then from there you should just be able to just move the panel like that, free the bottom half. And then you'll just separate the 2 halves for now and put it in your pocket or something. When you put this back in later on, if you want to, spray some WD-40 or some silicone spray on both this shaft here, inside here, and on these little wings here. That way you don't break it in the future. Just put a 10 millimeter socket. Heads up, that's a swivel socket. It's my secret weapon for this job. I will explain later on what I mean. But right now the goal is just to remove this 10 millimeter bolt, get it out all the way, and then you should be able to free the airbox. Put our fastener in our pocket for now, so you don't lose it. Then you should be able to just push up after you free it out of its way here. Of course, you got to free it from the little hood cover too. Got him. And to make this job a little easier, there are, 4 other little clips that, look like this. There's one here. Normally there'd be one there, but someone's been in here before me. Here and right there. Just remove those 4 clips the same as you did the first one. And my socket just went down there. On a real quick side note, now that we got this airbox out, keep in mind that there are these little pegs, bolts, studs. You use those to line the airbox up when you put it back in. But with that being said, there was this one time I was making a video on changing air filters, and I was like, one day I'm going to find a way to remove that airbox. Well, that's pretty much how you do it. Now it's going to find a way to connect this resonator hose to the new cone-shaped air filter, and then I'd be good to go with a cone filter. Hooray! Okay, next thing you want to do is remove 2 8mm fasteners. There's one here, and there's one over here. You guys can't see it because of the camera angle, but there is one fastener back here. They're both 8mm. So we're going to loosen them now. You notice I had my hand there with that second bolt. That's because once you get that fastener out, it's going to come out. So you gotta be ready to catch that, the bolt, and the socket. Then after that, you'll just pull up, right from the bottom, pull up, just like this. Then move. Right then. Move the windshield washer reservoir tank right where the airbox was. That's all where it needed to be. You don't have to disconnect any hoses or anything. Especially when you got like half fluid left like it is right now. Now here's the tricky part. There are 4 bolts on this lower radiator here, or the radiator fan itself rather. There's one like all the way down there. I know it's really hard to catch it on cam, especially with all this nonsense in the way, but it's like right down where my finger is. I tried doing this once before, and let's just put it like this. The little vortex that sits in the gap between the dimensions that likes to capture car fasteners ended up catching this one. So if that happens to you, don't worry about it. I wouldn't worry about it. But if you do get it in there when you get it back together again, put it in head tight because it is really frustrating to get out. But just so you know, that is a 10mm down there. Just pretend it exists. It doesn't, but it will exist on yours, or it should. And on a side note, do be careful because this is like really close quarters here. And try to work on as cold of an engine as you can. Otherwise, this may happen to you. And with that being said, there's a 10mm down there and 2 easy peasy 10mm. One here, that's what the windshield wiper reservoir was guarding. And there's an open one right there. Okay, now remember that swivel 10mm from earlier? And I said it was a secret weapon? Well, there it is. This is your secret weapon to getting this out and a little bolt that normally resides somewhere down in that mess. It is a little difficult to get out, but it is doable. Key is to just keep it on the bolt, keep it aligned up as much as you can, and you should be home free. Yeah, it is a pain, but yeah. But as you can see, other than this thing wanting to slip, it's coming out. Actually, it's coming out no problem now. But the fight will be worse on the passenger side. Trust me. Okay, I think I'm at the point where I can just remove this by hand. And I can. Right, be careful not to make the vortex appear that sucks up car bolts. And there it is. There's your 10mm here. The other one's going to be a lot more difficult than this because of all the obstacles Chrysler had to throw in the way here. It's most intended, but some were unintended. But yeah, all you got to do is free the 3 other 10mm bolts. Okay, so as a small heads up, for some reason this little ring thing came off of the fastener to up here for this radiator fan. I don't know why it's there, but it's there just in case. I'll line it back here just how it was. As for the socket, just get the longest 10mm, the longest 1/4" drive extension you can get. And yes, believe it or not, that is a swiveling 10mm socket that was designed to swivel from the factory. This cost me like $15 on Amazon, but in my opinion, it's well worth it. I mean, granted, you know, this cost of a 10mm socket. I mean, we all know the whole meme about 10mm sockets, how they go missing. That vortex that sucks out car parts sucks out 10mm sockets too. And then the swivel. Then, you know, you got to add the swivel in too. So, you know, when you're working on cars from this decade or later where they got to cram everything under the hood, like that, and worse, you know, the difference between a socket like this and a socket plus swivel plus extension could make or break the difference between you getting that bolt out or not. So it's $15, but it's worth every penny. Links will be in the video description. And now with all the fasteners free, now you got to remove the fan from this tight little housing here. I'm putting you guys over there away from the car for a reason. Hopefully, you know, you'll be able to watch what I do. That way you don't do the same mistakes I did and get a general feel as to how to get the fan out of this little hole here. Heads up, there may be little like wire clamps that might clamp down to something. They might troll you, so do be aware of that as you get the fan out. I think I almost got it. almost free. Da, 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 da! That sound off the Zelda games that all the Zelda fans love to hear. Okay, from here, all I gotta do is, there's an electric connector right here. One of those locking ones. You gotta put your flathead screwdriver in like that. Free out the lock. Push in the little tab here. Right then, as you can see, there's a gap, right in between where the connector is and the tab is. I just use that same screwdriver, more or less put in this little valley here, pushed in, and then out the connector comes easy as pie. A lot easier than a radiator fan resistor, which we'll get into that a little later. But right now, that's pretty much the gist of it. You just remove the fan from your Dodge Jenny. Now pretty much the reverse removal is your installation. Right, except like I said, there's that passenger side bolt, the difficult bolt, that one. If you can actually get that in there without having a little vortex being summoned and kidnap your bolt, just put it in there hand tight and then turn it a little bit with your wrench just to hold it in if you can. Otherwise, I'm not worried about it. That thing's hard enough to get to as it is. Isn't it bad enough that modern cars had to be so crammed in like this? Ugh. But with that being said, there's actually one more thing we can do with this fan, and that's a QA test. Right, if you're having fan issues, you can always apply 12 volts in the connector here. Apply it directly to 12 volt power like from your car battery. And if it spins and spins up nice and good, then your fan's not the problem. Then it's something else. So now you ask, how do I apply 12 volts in such a tight little space? Good question. As I said, I'm going to show you guys how to rebuild the radiator fan resistor connector. But the gist of it is, that's pretty much what they send you, the whole connector housing plus 2 long wires with these little female spade butt connectors here. I bought these at Advance Auto a long time ago. I forgot the price, but then again, like I said, it was a long time ago, so it might be a little bit more than it was then. Yay, inflation. Hooray. As I said, it's these little spade connectors here. I don't know if you can see it or not, but I'm going to try plugging in and get it for you guys here on cam as well, out in YouTube land. Right, it goes in something like that. You can get in a little deeper than that, but this will work. Actually, you know what? That's actually pretty good in there. So yeah, that's pretty much what you got to do. And just so you know, these are 12 gauge wires. So you ideally want to take a long 12 gauge wire, get 2 of them, like say 50 inches, put one into the butt connector, put the other end on your battery, put one end on positive, put another on negative, and watch it spin. Okay, so as I was saying, there's a positive and negative. There's a positive right here. Just put one in there. Then you just put the other end on negative. Come on. Come on. Right then. As you can see, it's spinning good. So we know that that's not the problem. It's something else. And don't leave it for too long like I did, or else it may weld itself together. Because this fan is on a 40 amp fuse. So I'm going to take a guess and say that this fan itself draws like 20 or 25 amps. Air conditioning. But I guess I better stop before I start welding things here, and it'll be difficult to remove down the line if I have to. So that's pretty much it for QA testing your fan on a Dodge Journey or any other vehicle as a whole. Now we just got to move on to the radiator fan resistor, and I'll show you how to assemble that connector and all that good stuff. But unfortunately, I managed to break the tab off, and essentially, even breaking the tab off to hold it in, it still wouldn't budge. So guess what? Now I got to get another connector here. The connector is part number 68045336AA, and the radiator fan resistor part number is 68054677AA. But unfortunately, when you flip this package over, it's in pieces. Yeah, I'm guessing this is probably for many different Dodge and Chrysler, Jeep and Ram and Fiat products, which is why you get 2 different gauges here. The gauges we need to focus on are these green ones. These are 10 gauge wires. And of course, you gotta assemble it yourself. So, as Voltar would say, I think I got your name right. If I didn't, my apologies. As Voltar would say, sit back, strap on, and let's get it on and assemble this little connector pack. Okay, now we got this assembled out. You can tell when it's done. I did this, in a speed up, so that way you wouldn't waste some time. But you just set it started as I did. These things only go in one way. When you hear it come in and it's in its home, you'll hear it click. So let's do a quick QA test. Get out our very badly conditioned radiator fan resistor, and we're gonna connect it in here just like so. Okay, it's in there. Yeah. I don't have a multimeter to check, but at least it's going in and out just fine, no problem. So yeah, let's get out to the car. So once again, as Voltar would say, sit back, strap on. Let's go out to the car and get it on. Be sure to keep in mind the orientation. The blue wire with the green stripe goes on the left side of the connector, and the green wire with the blue stripe goes on the right side. So make sure you had the connections, lined up as such, because it's two green wires. So now that we got this out of the way, let's, as Voltar would say, sit back, strap on, make it happen. I had to do the solder for that off cam here, but it does, come with those little shrink wraps. So make sure you put those over your joints. Also, make sure you use the highest soldering iron possible and/or use some extra flux on there. Remember, this is a 12 gauge wire, so you will need a lot of power and a lot of flux to make the solder, all come together. I'll put a link up in the iCards right up there to a video I watched on how to properly solder, big gauge wires like 1210s and all that. It'll be there and or the video description. So yeah, that's pretty much removing and replacing your radiator fan, testing it, and replacing your fan resistor if your connector, wants to be rather difficult. And of course, there is a video on how to take the fan resistor out of the housing. I'll have that linked in the video description and or, iCards. It's by RichPen06A. You can always research radiator fan resistor, RichPen06A or something. It'll pop up. And that's how you basically take it out of the housing. This is pretty much an extended version of this video in case it wants to be a little difficult. So let's truly, get this fan all put back together and wrap this up. Okay, so let's sit here and discuss this repair job and do a quick close on this. That's actually somewhat straightforward job to do. The only real difficult part is that bolt that's buried in between underneath all those holes on the passenger side. That lower passenger side bolt is really difficult to get to. And also having to fight that fan in and out of the car too. That's a pretty difficult time, getting it out, getting it in. As you saw at least the out part anyway. Hopefully you saw my angles as I got it out. That way hopefully you know how to get it out for you. Or hopefully you just brute force it like I did. That's fine too. I really don't care. And honestly, in spite of the resistor fan, well, I'll tell you this. I drove it around for a while. The radiator fan, still wants to be a little intermittent-ish. Like as if the temperature cable will just keep climbing and climbing and climbing as I'm in stop and go traffic. Rather than, just hit 195 and start blowing constantly. I don't know what the end result of that is. So if you have any ideas on how this fan is supposed to work, please, drop it down in the YouTube comments below this video. That way I get a better understanding as to what this fan does. And to see if I'm actually having a problem or if it's all in my head or something to that effect. But all I will say is I put the new resistor in. I did get the fan to spin, but it still doesn't want to spin, all the time. Like it sits at 195, 200 and it spins it all the time and stays there. It just still wants to go up to climb. But at least it'll climb up to like 219, then the fan kicks in, and then down to 212, 210, or wherever it goes from there. And also, you may have saw when I tested the fan about those exposed wires. I'm actually pretty careful about that stuff, but honestly, I would advise you guys, like I said, to get a wire, two of them, like 50 inches long, make sure it's 12 gauge. Put one in on the butt connector, expose the other end, tin it up, put a tip on it, something. Then, you hook it into the fan, as I showed you before, and you put it at 12 volts on the battery, and I just saw it spin. So there's something else wrong, or the fan's working as it should. And like I said, this is all in my head, or something. Yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say on that. But speaking of the exposed wires, though, if I could replace those exposed ends at the end or put it on the battery, put some alligator clips, clamps, or something, and then put a toggle switch, somewhere in between there. At least it wouldn't, that like as if I'm welding the connections. That way, don't have sparks and all that, and don't want to stick to the bolt because eventually that slag is going to stick on there, and it's going to make all the nuts and all that, hard to get off later on. So do be careful of that. And that's just how it goes on these cars. Normally you get a battery, exposed terminals everywhere where you can actually put it to positive and ground. Not on this car. Nope. Gotta open up the driver's side fender, front fender for that. I don't know what Chrysler was thinking with that design, but oh well. At least now you know how to replace your fan and the resistor, especially when the pack and the connector want to be a little difficult, if you will. There would be a worse word I would use for that, but I don't want to risk no gold dollar signs, let alone black/dollar signs. And speaking of black/dollar signs and gold dollar signs, you want to know how to help me combat that? Yeah, donate to my medical bills. Links are in the video description. Please consider donating. Any amount helps out. Any amount helps combat the gold and black/dollar signs whenever they come up. And as Games from the Grave would say, it helps keep this channel and myself alive and undead. So with that being said, I'm Adventure Link. Want to thank you all for watching. Hopefully you got some entertainment value out of this. Hopefully you learned something from this. Please be sure to rate, comment, subscribe, share it with your friends, family, other Chrysler Pentastar V6 owners, especially Dodge Journey owners, or any other owners of these vehicles with the same fan setup. That's fine too. Whatever helps to help me make a living here on YouTube and help get my word out. It helps make sure that I'm not making crappy videos and I'm not wasting time and I'm doing a good job and all that. And if you hopefully never want to miss a video from me again, as Scotty Kilmer would say, remember to ring that bell! Social media in the video description as well. Like I said, all tools and all relevant video callouts that I made are in the video description and or in the iCards where appropriate. And we're going to close off with the wise words of wisdom from America Car Guy, reminding you guys to be safe, have fun, and stay dirty! Yay! And as Eric O would say from the South Main Auto channel, if I can do it, you can too. Take care. See you all in the next video. Have a good day, evening. Hopefully it's pleasant for you. And happy Thanksgiving.